Good evening, and welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because people on Facebook don't like to be told that they're wrong when they are very much wrong. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin pretty much everywhere. You can find me online under that name or occasionally on Jake Farwharton's podcast because he needed someone at the last minute. Whenever there is a need for a last minute replacement, my name will be on that list. Thanks, Jake. Seriously, appreciate it. Let me go ahead and introduce you to everybody and give you a real quick fill-in as to what's going on, because we got some weird going on at the moment. For the Midwest of the U.S., good evening, Brigid.
Good evening.
And from bright and sunny Paris this morning, good morning, Joseph.
Well, it's trying to be sunny. Good morning.
See, right now that's everybody that's here. Dalan, I don't know where he is. It's entirely possible he's still kind of under the weather. I didn't hear anything from him yet. I'm still hoping. Joey should be joining us, of course, momentarily. Heretic Woman is sorting out something that's not working quite right, technologically speaking. So we'll see what happens with that. And UnrenownedTech said he was running a little behind schedule. Whatever, he'll join us when and if he can join us. So we'll see how that plays out. Before we get started with everything, obviously, folks will join us as soon as they can. It's kind of one of those days where before I even get started with all the regular stuff, I think it's worthwhile to kind of mention that there's a new hashtag going out there on the intertweets. Goodbye, old chum. So for those of you that might remember the very first TV and movie Batman, we lost Adam West earlier today, unfortunately. So to you, goodbye, old chum. And thanks for 80 plus good years. We appreciate it. Yeah, that was kind of sad to see. It was even sadder to realize that there was a Twitter account that puts out a whole bunch of the bat signs, screenshots and little clips and whatnot from the Batman TV show and the first movie with all the signage that had, bat computer, that kind of thing. They went ahead and said that they were going to do live tweeting of the first Batman movie from 1966, I think it was. That was, I think I have a copy of it somewhere. Don't ask me why. I think somebody gave it to me. Probably the same person that gave me Krull. I don't know. Yes, I have a copy of Krull. I may have two copies of Krull. Again, I don't know why. Probably because somebody doesn't like me. Some people know what Krull is. Congratulations. You're either old or you got some really, really mean-spirited friends.
Thank you.
Oh, you've got a copy of it too, do you? Or you remember it?
I remember.
It did not age well. That was a movie that did not age at all well.
Nope.
So, anyway, we've got that. Let me go ahead and get everybody started. As a reminder, believe it or not, since I was having a problem trying to come up with topics for tonight, the cards from the drive back from ReasonCon, yeah, I used those because I was in a little bit of a pickle and I was trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do, because I couldn't come up with a topic. So there we go. That's the one I wrote down. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right here. Stop competing with me, Decker. It's a kind of a famous line now from the first Star Trek movie, the one that people call the snooze fest, or the one that wanted to be 2001. I happen to like that one. That's my second favorite Star Trek movie. So whatever. I wanted this to kind of be an opportunity for us to think about who we are, what we've done. It's kind of a meta thing because sometimes we understand, sometimes we don't. what we do, how we influence, and how others influence us. There's I forget if it was Greek, I think it's Greek, thing where it's the fates. And I've talked about this before. The three fates, the three crones. One who takes the skeins of life and turns them into the threads. The one who takes the threads and weaves them into the tapestry of life, and the last who cuts them and ends the life that is. And I've talked about this, and I don't believe in any kind of mysticism about all this. I like to think of it in the terms of we have our lives. They start, they end. We have no control over that. And sometimes we don't really have that much control over what we do in that grand tapestry that is the life that we lead. But we influence a whole bunch of other threads no matter what going through, because we're part of the tapestry. You kind of do, whether you realize it or not. My wife, of course, influenced me to a great extent. My kid, all the people that I've interacted with, and some that, I can say did not do a good on me. There are a handful of people for whom I don't like what they did to change the course of my life. There's one in particular who reneged on a gentleman's agreement with me. And it was in a business situation. And I really got screwed over. Huge, as a matter of fact. I literally lost out on thousands and thousands of dollars of vacation time. The trip to Australia and Japan. But I've been lucky enough to have helped to influence some other people. There was somebody who lost a husband in the family of skeptics, the folks that went to ReasonCon. Kind of part of the extended family, our family of choice. I don't know the family from anything. I may have met them at ReasonCon and not even realized it, but it doesn't matter. They called out for a little bit of help, and I can't afford monetarily to help. So I did what I could. I let people know what was going on, and I shared the insights of what I remember from my wife and my family having to go through cancer treatment and what it does to you and what it becomes the new norm. I ended up getting the word, like a lot of others, that they were moving him to hospice care. And of course, nobody was happy about that because, when you're dealing with terminal disease, hospice is kind of the end of the road, in some ways, kind of literally. And it has happened with my wife. He went quickly. He was gone in a day and a half, maybe. It's kind of the same thing that happened with us. We figured that we had 3 months. We had 24, 36 hours tops. But we still did what we could. And in my case, I did what I could. I let them know. This is the new norm for the time being. Keep track. Stay with each other. Record anything and everything. Make sure that nothing gets left unsaid. And even though I don't know him, let him know. You've got a good, strong, loving family. And he should be proud of that. I hope that he was. This episode 166 on the docket, Your Honor. Know thyself. And this is one of those situations where I'm kind of feeding from 5-minute freestyle into the show itself, which is very unusual for me to do, I know. But it was the right way to go, because there's that loss in the family, like I said, was really tough on a lot of folks, especially over on the no religion required side. And I didn't want to name names, but I wanted the family to know that we're thinking of them. And why not use it as a chance to really reflect on what we do? You know, whether it's family or friends or extended friends or whatever. So this is not a I need a sob story. This is not a I need to vent because I'm sad. This is a we influence people. And what better opportunity to go ahead and, make sure that we think of all these things. So let me bring you up to speed, because folks came back over in from just north of the border. Heretic Woman, you made it. Congratulations. You finally fixed it up, did you? You have no audio at the moment. I know that you did before. Double check. Yep. While you're doing that, from Pittsburgh, Joey, you made it. Thanks.
See, had a bit of a farewell party for somebody.
I have no idea. I think that
we made the best of a bad situation, and in honor of the late Adam West, we had ourselves a classic Batman themed party.
You had me worried there for a second. I thought it might have been somebody that I knew. No, I can't, Heretic Woman. Not a damn bit.
Of course it was somebody you knew. Everybody knows Mayor West.
Yes. Mayor West, no. I didn't know but well, that's interesting. We just lost Joseph.
I'm sure he'll be back. Good morning, by the way.
Good to have you. And there he is. And UnrenownedTech, welcome back. And you have yourself muted still.
Well, if it's not one thing, it's another. Sorry I'm late, but I wanted ice cream. He wanted ice cream. We all wanted ice cream. So we went and we got ice cream.
There you go.
And then we talked about bullies.
I want ice cream, damn it.
Then we talked about bullies and make sure that, you never start the fight, but you damn well sure finish it.
Ain't that the truth? All right, so for those of you that might be live and watching, which I've got, according to the viewer, one. That's okay. It's more than just us right now. Please feel free to take advantage of the chat system over here on YouTube Live, or if you'd like to live tweet, you can do it at HolyCrapTV. I need to move my Twitter profile so I can see that. And of course, there is a Discord channel up and available. So if you'd like to join over in there and chat us up over there, that's fine too. I keep forgetting to move that. There we go. I got 2 monitors, so it becomes a little bit interesting for me.
I got 3.
I could put more, but I'm not sure if these are working. That's all other thing. So, real quickly, Heretic Woman, I don't know if you went looking. I did. And do you have any news?
I have no news.
In that case, I can fill you in.
Good.
A little something that came through from CBC News.
Yes.
The headline reads, stuck in Saudi prison, Rafe Badawi receives honorary degree for defense of free speech.
Yes, I did see that. Sorry.
That's okay. So let's see. He was honored by, and I did not take French, so my French pronunciation is totally atrocious, and I know it. It's Université de Sherbrooke, I believe.
Université de Sherbrooke. University of Sherbrooke, if you want to anglicize it.
So anyway.
Place of higher learning.
Yes.
I love that flavor.
Yeah.
You guys are making
Sherbrooke.
Turn off the camera control for a second. Anyway.
I've actually been in Sherbrooke before. I did an exchange there in the 1880s.
Brilliant.
Sounds like eating ice cream by the river.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a very lovely town.
He was given the, let's see, University is awarding Badawi an honorary doctorate for, quote, his exceptional contribution to the defense of freedom of expression.
So in other words, now we have to start referring to him as Dr. Rafe Badawi.
Yes.
Honorary doctor.
Yes.
Now, there is a piece about this article that was heartwarming to a certain degree. Unfortunately, there was no additional news out of Saudi Arabia itself.
Yeah.
Which, as we've said before, is probably going to be the standard, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
However, there was one piece about this that was very nice to hear. From the article, his wife Insaf accepted the degree on his behalf. That's not the big piece. Quote, things like this give him courage and hope, she told the crowd. She was able to speak with her husband Tuesday.
Oh, good.
He dictated an acceptance speech to her. In it, he thanked everyone in Sherbrooke for remembering him and his cause.
Oh, good.
That's awesome.
Which means that even though we have no new news coming out of Saudi Arabia, he is not in a complete vacuum. He knows, he got word out, and, Canada knows. There's also a piece in there that mentions that should he get out, his immigration status will be accelerated because basically as soon as they can get him, they want him processed as quickly as possible. Yeah. And I can't say that.
The problem is whether Saudi will let him out.
Yeah.
Because they can forbid him to leave the country, even though his sentence may be passed by then. They can still be dicks and say, oh, you're not allowed to leave.
No,
honestly, I'm all for sending some kind of SWAT team in just to go and extract them. Screw international law. Just send a bunch of mercenaries in and get them out and be done with it.
No, here's 2 points. One, it used to be America that would say, no, come here. We'll take care of you.
Yeah.
You got one too. Nice.
It's just a cheapie, but yes.
Anyway, and the second thing is like you were saying, we got some really, really, really good Black Ops teams here in the United States. There's no reason we couldn't get this guy out.
Yep. Just send some people in.
Disavow the whole thing, of course.
It's not about international law. It's about national sovereignty. And yeah, you wouldn't want to send Black Ops team or anything like that. You'd want plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Get some
mercenaries.
Get some of what we like to call professional contractors.
Yes.
So
I'm all for that.
But none of those black cat guys. They're crazy. They just shoot anybody.
But last Thursday, I was very fortunate to attend a wonderful talk with Ali Rizvi and Armin Navabi on free speech and the impact on those leaving Islam. So it was a really good discussion.
Well, the impact is usually after they get tossed off the roof by the believers, right?
Yes. But the I guess the value of free speech to those who have left Islam. But it was a really good discussion, and we had some talk about the whole Islamophobia thing and all of that, which was really good. And then Ali spoke again at the conference on the weekend too, which was partly the same talk, but he did say some other stuff too. But yeah, those guys are really, really great to listen to. And Ali and I can't remember. It's another ex-Muslim lady. They're doing a talk in New York in August, I believe. So if you're in the New York area, as New York City, definitely he's worth checking out. There's lots of really good stuff to say, and he's actually friends with Rafe, and he talks about Rafe a lot in his talks. he really does a lot to make sure that people don't forget about him.
Excellent. So as of the recording of tonight's show, this is 4 years, 11 months, and I had to do a little bit of recalculation, 23 days since Raif Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Next week is 5 years.
Half his sentence.
We are still here. We are still hoping. And we are not letting people forget. Good luck. So, like I was saying, yeah, I was having a hard time trying to come up with what to talk about, and yeah, the cards that I was writing stuff down on the way back from ReasonCon, you know, I was kind of in a bind, and I finally said I should really go through these and see what I've got. Yeah, 2 of the cards I was actually able to read what I wrote and remember what it is that I meant. So
Were you trying to write and drive at the same time?
Drive is a very nice term for it, considering that we were stuck in traffic for a long time. Like just literally, it was bumper to bumper. It was just stopped, and there's no
have fun. Get on the LIE.
No, been there, done that.
I did. I was on it for a whole mile, and it didn't stop.
Yeah.
Got lucky. For those of you that don't know, it's the lie. And if you don't know what the lie is, you don't live in the New York metro area. Congratulations.
And you don't have any cake.
That's right.
You haven't lived till you've been stuck on the 401 for 3 hours.
Yeah. The elevated gardener just waiting. After a while, you start to feel the whole thing start to slide back and forth because you're suffering from insomnia, and I don't know, whatever. Anyway.
Recalculating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately not. Anyway. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the people that we influence, because it's not just the fact that we lost someone in the NRR family, but we sometimes forget how much influence we actually have on people. And even though, Facebook people will go ahead and say that, talking about stuff doesn't change anything, doesn't matter.
Yeah, baloney.
You know what? Podcasts are doing exactly that. And the better part is you've got actual inflection to work off of. You've got facial, you've got to hear our voices. So, we influence people whether we understand it or not sometimes. And I think it's kind of a good idea to really remind ourselves, with the fast pace of all the crap that's been going on, that we actually do make a difference all over the place. And, well, why the hell not? Especially considering, I made it a point. I'm not going to talk about U.S. politics. I'm not going to talk about U.S. politics because, God damn it, I really don't want to talk about U.S. politics. But, God damn it, I'm going to go ahead and bring one out really quickly. There was a meeting between, was it Bulgaria, Romania, the president from there, and the U.S. president? And one of the reporters asked about visa requirements and how that's going to be streamlined. And did you talk about that? No, we didn't talk about that. Didn't come up at all. and the other guy's just like, oh yeah, we talked about that. We know that it's important, and we discussed it, and we're going to see about moving that along a little bit quicker now. So, hold it. Did one of those reporters inadvertently make a lie happen? Oh, goody. I don't even have to wait for Saturday Night Live now. Thank you. So at this point, I'm just going to turn off the camera because I don't even care. I don't mean I'm going to turn off. I'm going to turn off the camera control for a change. Normally I switch it for everybody, but you know what? At this point, screw it. I don't care. So Heretic Woman, you were supposed to be on with another group tonight. Everything went to hell.
Yeah, the host unfortunately had some children who decided they did not want to go to bed. So we're going to have to reschedule that.
Samuel L. Jackson needs to be on the move.
Uh-huh. You got that right. But I did have a fantastic weekend last weekend.
Right. So you got the opportunity of seeing a bunch of people hobnobbing with
did.
Uber Smoochers over there that you were.
I did.
We're all extremely jealous.
I
Let's
did
just admit it all.
see this guy here.
Damn you!
Who was and for those of you listening in 2060 whatever, this is a Deconverted that was written by Mr. Seth Andrews, the thinking atheist. Although if you listen to his talk, he actually says he's not the thinking atheist because it took him 30 years to figure out that, you know, there's no such thing as invisible sky daddy.
He's the host of the Thinking Atheist.
Yes,
That's right.
And I like the way he explains it. The way he explains it, the show is that it boils down to is that he wants people to think.
Yes.
And
what talk about one of the most down to earth and gracious people ever. Like he just, you know, at the registration table before the event even started, he just came down and was like, "Hey, how's it going, folks?" and hung out with us for like an hour, just shooting the shit, you know, talking about his Punch a Nazi episode and fun stuff like that, and freedom of speech. There's a lot of talk about freedom of speech this weekend. But like he is amazed even, and we figured he has the most well-known atheist podcast in the world as far as we know, and he is still amazed that he can make a difference. Like he's so incredibly humble. And I've actually, since I got back, I've been listening to some of his older episodes, and the guy is just phenomenal. So hanging out with him was a lot of fun. And, you know, just Professor Dawkins, like, hello. I got my Dawkins book. Well, actually, I brought several books and had them. He signs like a doctor, though. It's sort of this squiggle, but I mean the guy does so many signatures. I kind of don't blame him, but you know, just but you know what
Well,
for
take
me,
take it to the pharmacy. Maybe you'll get something interesting.
oh God,
that's a good idea.
you like
Well,
conversation?
he is a doctor, you know, air quotes, but
Somehow I don't think that he can write you a script for erythromycin, though.
probably not.
I actually have my son has the science encyclopedia that Richard Dawkins was actually key on creating this book.
Very cool.
And so the idea behind it was that it's basically an encyclopedia of all these wonderful, amazingly sciencey things, whether it's about the world, natural sciences, so on and so forth. And that they lead one, but they're set up so that they lead one into the next, and so on and so forth, to keep the child's attention.
Right.
And so I remember there were days when my son would sit there and he would just like spend an hour in front of that book.
Oh yeah.
So if like I ever meet Richard Dawkins, and I know I'm going to get the chance to, like, I would grab that. That would be the book. I have other books of his. I've read them, love them, but that would be the one I would grab and say, listen, you need to make a new one. This will change lives.
One of my most poignant moments, though, came from a totally non-famous person, although I think she should be famous. Well, at least get her story out there. But they had coffee and tea stations that you could go and you know, fix yourself a drink all afternoon. And I went up to get a tea, and there was another lady up there, and just started chit-chatting a little bit, and she says, you familiar with the FLDS? And for those of you who don't know, that's the Fundamental Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka the polygamists. And I said, oh, yes, I am. And she said, yeah, I escaped from there.
Oh, wow.
And she had been one of 3 wives, has 9 children, and her sect still follows Warren Jeffs, but out of Canada. in British Columbia. So in the Bountiful, if anybody's familiar with that, I was familiar with that. So I knew what she was talking about. But just talking with her for a few minutes and just getting a little bit of her story was just amazing to me. And
you should have introduced her to Seth Andrews. He would have made a whole episode for her.
I think he's familiar with her, actually, because she knew immediately. She asked me if I knew Bryce, and I'm like, yeah, I know Bryce. He's my bud. I'm doing his show on Monday. Just did my show this past Monday. So, she's familiar. She did do Bryce's show back in the day. I think when he was a bit newer, but I'm gonna have her on because she's just like, wow, and such a lovely woman too, and just so many of the stories that you get from an event like that, just mingling with the other attendees and hearing. There was a guy who came all the way from Nunavut.
Where's that?
Yeah, I know you guys are all like, huh? That is North Pole territory.
Oh, wow.
That's like we have Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut.
They have religion up there?
Well, I think he lived south before that, but he lives in Nunavut, and he
there's pretty much everything is almost south of that.
Okay, yes.
That's way the hell up. They've got reindeer that look like Carl Malden. Some people get
yes. Okay, well, he's lived in southern provinces before.
Well, I guess I could say religion could thrive up there because I know at those temperatures, shit freezes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe they keep it. Joke. They keep it warmed in the church. I don't know. But yeah, dude from Nunavut. You come away from an event like that just so charged up. And we influence each other when you're there, which I think is so awesome. And, people that are just non-believers. They're not podcasters, they're not necessarily activists, but they come and they share each other's stories with you, and even just that can influence the rest of us to be more passionate about stuff. So those of us who are trying to do stuff, like Seth Andrews said, that going to events like that are what that he said, you guys complete me, which sounds really corny, but when he says it, it sounds really awesome. But it's what keeps him energized. It's what makes it that much more, it's what fires his passion, is coming out and just meeting people. Because, you gotta admit, especially if you ever meet the guy, he loves people. And he will sit and just talk and listen and hang out with you. And it's really fantastic in that way. I think Joseph's having problems with his ISP, but
probably more coffee.
Yeah, couple other highlights. I had lunch with Kelly Carlin, which oh God, first name just went right. George Carlin's daughter, who you would imagine is quite funny herself. I had dinner with Jerry Coyne, who is another evolutionary biologist who has written books countering intelligent design. Just, loads and loads of fun. Matt Dillahunty did a magic act instead of speaking this time.
He made religion disappear?
He tried.
I was going to say, that would be magical.
Well, it was already kind of disappeared from the room. So, yeah. But it just, like what you were saying, is influencing people and making a difference. That's something like that really does. And also there's something to be said when you're walking around and somebody goes, "Hey, what show do you do? I recognize your voice."
They said that,
that's yeah, and or when you give your card to someone and they say, "Oh, that's you." So that's kind of fun too. But yeah, definitely a very rewarding experience.
As an aside, by the way, over there on the live chat for YouTube, by the way, good morning, Ellen. Apparently, there's a dad joke. Of course, the churches keep it warm. That's why they all call it pews.
Ah!
Go.
Yeah, I don't have the chat up right now because it took me too long to get here in the first place.
It's my job. Anyway, but all right. So the point of this whole name dropping thing that's been going on is really to kind of set the stage for who do we influence and how. And we don't sometimes think about it in those terms because we don't think our usual day-to-day activities is really something that changes how anybody thinks, but we do. I mean, perfect example. Tech, you got a kid, I got a kid. We know what it's like having kids and, influencing how they think about stuff and teaching them through and seeing their teachers. Right?
right.
And Brigid, you know of some youngsters that you've influenced also yourself. And I have to imagine that's pretty freaking cool when you all of a sudden watch the light bulb suddenly go on.
Yeah. And sometimes it's still surprising that it does go on because I'm not always the best at explaining things. But yeah.
Joey, usually when you have lights go on for other people, it's a very quick and brief flash, usually followed by a very loud
I was
boom.
never going to say anything about my driving skills.
Actually, I was thinking more along the lines of one of the old episodes that I was listening to where you said if you were given full access, complete access to one Home Depot, you could take over the world.
Home Depot plus some nuclear material.
No, he said
just that.
Just one Home Depot, and he could take over the world.
Well, I wouldn't say take over the world, but I'll tell you this much. In any event of civil war or zombie apocalypse or anything of that sort, an alien invasion perhaps, they're going to know my name.
That's what the spray cans are for.
And Joseph, I'm not leaving you out of this one because I wanted to make sure that you had enough time to make sure that you actually did have your audio working again. You've taught. I mean, even if it's not been in a structured, yes, format, you've taught because you've actually been able to say, okay, this is the design that I'm working on and I want to make this work. And even if that's not, like I said, a structured teaching, you're teaching somebody about what you can do, what your vision is, and how you're going to go about making it happen, like you've been doing for however long it's been with all those pieces in that place. And you said you're learning for yourself, too, on some pieces.
Yeah, I try to explain to my clients exactly what I do and what I've done and how it's done and all that. But I also have a lot of people telling me that's a bad idea.
Now, it's entirely possible that, there's stuff that's just bad ideas. Sometimes it's opinions, sometimes it's fact, sometimes it's...
Well, sometimes it's not what they want to hear.
Yeah, there's that.
But that's, if you're going to influence people, that comes with the package quite often. Because if you understand any given situation, then you might understand something that they might not want to hear.
And that's unfortunate. That's annoying at times, but that's also where we tend to be our best as skeptics. I don't know about anybody else, but that tends to be, for me, one of the better pieces of the skeptical movement. being told no, and here's why. See, there's the caveat. Having somebody actually tell you no, and here's why. I got no problem with somebody telling me, I'm wrong about something. Usually, every once in a while, it's annoying. But I much prefer if somebody teaches me why, because I mean that's part of the whole reason of doing the show. Why is the most important piece of the whole damn thing. Because once you understand, then you can use that for changing how you approach something later.
That's for you. But what I'm beginning to understand is that there's a lot of people out there, and a lot more than I thought, that they actually do not want to know. And even if you explain things exactly the way they are, quite often it just registers in the fact that you're correcting them, that registers, but the actual content of the case you're trying to make just does not register. It just stops at being corrected. And I mean, in your mind, you can present your case, and you can go back to your corner from wherever you came from. You're not even in the picture, but for them, it's all about you.
That's a piece that's become real super annoying recently. There's a lot less of I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and as you've said on many occasions, Joseph, the emotional lizard brain stuff I'm going to do because I'm afraid, or I don't want to think, or I want somebody else to think for me, and I'm just going to follow because it's comfortable.
There's more to being skeptical than it's almost a language in itself. Because most humans tend to speak through concepts. They don't use reality as a reference. They use concepts. They use references to reality as a means of communication. So when you use reality as a reference, that's lost on people who don't do that.
Now, I don't know about anybody else, but that's a problem to me.
That's a problem to any skeptic, and we're a minority. And if you do want to follow that rabbit hole down to the little instincty lizard brain part of us, I mean, it's directly linked to our survival instinct. But because anybody who's skeptical has basically learned how to survive for themselves. They don't need anybody to tell them what's the value of anything. They can look at something and judge for themselves whether it's good, bad. There's an entire process going on there that doesn't seem to happen in a lot of people. A lot of people tend to rely on some authority's opinion of how things are, and they just pattern match to that.
See, the problem that I've got with all this is if you're not starting from, I was going to say recognizing, I don't think that's the right word for it, respecting, again, may not be the best of terms, but screw it, respecting reality as being real, that's a serious problem. I mean, that is literally the difference between life and, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to do this one, between life and death. Example, Brigid.
But that's exactly it.
Yeah, Brigid, I can't think of any more stark explanation. How to explain to people the difference between reality and not. When we thought at one time that blood was interchangeable between humans and other animals because it looks the same.
Sorry.
How well did that work for Greece?
Not very well. We have blood typing for a reason because you put the wrong blood into the wrong person and it's going to coagulate and kill you. So, yeah.
Let me give you an example. I know someone, I'm not going to name names. I know someone who has at one time been an emergency responder, medical. I don't remember if he was considered paramedic, which is different from an ambulance worker, which is different from a whole bunch of other technical pieces. So if I'm getting this that particular piece incorrect, please forgive me. This person, again, not even saying male or female, this person that I know had to give blood in an emergency situation to someone, and without typing, gave the wrong bag of blood.
Aye.
Brigid, if you can't do an emergency in the field cross match for someone, what are you supposed to hang for them?
You're supposed to hang O.
I don't know what it was that was given to this person, but they were given other than, and unfortunately it was fatal.
Yeah.
Mm.
And unfortunately it's one of those situations where you kind of have to suck it up, and you have to know it was an emergency situation, it was fast-paced, and it was that one in 15,000 people that it just kind of happened. And
Human error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Real
if
simple,
we
just say human error.
Now, if we did not know how to do cross-matching of blood for people,
There'd be a lot of dead people.
how many people would die from bad blood?
A lot.
See, maybe that's why the Jehovah's Witnesses are afraid of transfusions. Maybe something happened to one of them.
It's, well, we know full well that's not what it is, but yeah, it's a funny, but it's a matter of that if you don't respect reality for what it is. I can't use enough underlines on this one. Bad things happen. And, this is unfortunately a really, really, really bad thing. I mean, the best possible outcome, believe it or not, if I'm not mistaken, and Brigid, help me out on this one, the best possible outcome from this wrong type blood going into somebody could have been if it was caught quickly enough and they only lost an arm because they were able to put a tourniquet on it to stop the blood from rushing everywhere else. Yes?
I don't think so.
No guts, no glory. To triumph, good soldier.
What?
Joey?
That's Joey.
Joey?
Yeah.
Who or what is that?
Somebody sent me something, and I thought I was muted.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Not quite.
What was that about? The
Apologies.
part about midgets?
What?
Later.
The word you're searching for is Magdeburg.
Oh, okay. I thought you said midgets. I was like, hell yeah, midgets.
Mm.
Okay.
Nothing to do with any of that, but again,
Wrestling,
over the chat.
right?
And,
Sure, if you want to call it that.
Apologies, somebody sent me something, and I was going to humor them.
anyway, so over in the chat, by the way, Stephanie's saying, thinking is hard work. People can survive in the modern world without thinking, so they do. I was going to actually argue the point, and then I remembered that there was someone in New York City, I think, that had to have an emergency medical attention because they fell into an one of those sidewalk elevator loading spots that was open and was not paying attention because they were using their phone, their little mini computer. Now, were they talking on the phone? Were they doing anything on the screen or whatnot? I don't know. I didn't see that far because for me, it was just like, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, that thinking is hard.
Future Darwin Award recipient.
If
Yeah.
only. That still doesn't top the person that shot the longhorn antelope or whatever the hell it was up on a cliff above him, and it came down and impaled him because he was on a cliff face. But thinking is hard. And I think that's one of the things that is a hallmark, even if we don't think of it as such, for us, the skeptical community, that we try to think, we try to examine, we try to do our homework, even if we didn't necessarily do nearly enough back in high school. Not that I know anybody that would be like that. But what is it that we're doing? Let me work it a different way. What we do with this show in particular, podcasters in general, we talk. We talk. We sometimes we do it for comedy. Sometimes we do it because we like to hear ourselves and we're vain. Sometimes we do it because we think that we've actually got something, well, as I keep saying at the end of the shows, something worthwhile to say. So are we eventually doing a net positive by just talking? What do you guys think?
I'm helping to warm the atmosphere.
Well, I mean, I think we are. After I have talked about some topics, I've had people come forward and say that it helped them a lot to have, my story out there and gave them some things to think about. And sometimes we do change people's minds.
Yeah. I mean, I get people say, well, why do you spend time debating these people that obviously aren't going to change their mind and yada yada. And I've said over and over, it's not about the person that I'm engaging with. It's about who might be reading. And I do get people afterwards. And, one just a couple of months ago, I was arguing with this Muslim guy. And I'd argued for an evening, and I think it was the late that night or the next morning on the thread, the guy comes back and says, "Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. I have some things to think about."
This wasn't Loverboy, was it?
No, it wasn't Loverboy. Jeez, no. He's been quiet. He's been quiet for like a week and a half. I don't know. But no, but I don't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing, but right after that, I got that message that he was reconsidering. He deleted all of his messages. So I don't know if that meant that he was rethinking things to the point that he didn't want people to know he was rethinking things or what. I never heard from him again, but, it certainly made me think that, he was reconsidering at least the position that I had been arguing with him about and maybe more. I don't know. But
Well,
it does work.
And I've had people give me other things to think about too that I haven't thought of.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely.
And I know full well that one of my favorite go-tos, of course, the rethinking of Eve in the Bible position. I know full well I've had a couple of people who have actually said, "Oh yeah, I heard you say this one before. Tell these other guys that have not heard it before." And it's like, okay, well, here's the thing. I like I like the light bulb moments. I really love to see that. Even if it doesn't necessarily change somebody's opinion, somebody getting exposed to an angle that they had never considered approaching something from before. I would like to think that maybe it will actually propagate into some other ways where maybe somebody would say, you know, I've never even considered looking at a problem from this direction before. Let me go ahead and do that. I don't know if that qualifies as exactly meta, but I would like to think that that kind of influence can happen. Yes, I'm leaving a little bit of extra dead air because I'm not sure if anybody else has something else to drop in there. Dalan, don't take out that dead space. He's not going to hear this part. I don't know where he is.
Isn't that called a pregnant pause?
Kinda, yeah.
I don't want to be pregnant though.
You don't have too much of a choice.
Being pregnant kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to be pregnant either. Thanks.
It wouldn't be pregnancy.
You know, if possession is 9/10 of the law, you look 9/10 pregnant. You know that.
Oh.
You haven't seen me with my shirt off.
Don't think I need to.
Besides, my boobs aren't that big.
Again, don't
Are
need
we
to.
talking about contraception?
Oh.
Almost.
Well, that's why I grew the beard.
There you go.
It was
Any
making me
case.
look more attractive.
You know what? You just gave me an insight on this one. Thinking and trying to deal with people and trying to make sure that people understand where to be looking and how to respect reality. Contraception is another one of those items where
Oh, shit. I thought he was going to talk about beards.
no, well, indirectly. If you grew up somewhere, maybe in a high school where you had nuns around as you were growing up, I'm sure someone on the panel knows where I'm going on this one.
I spent a year at a Catholic school. Don't ask why. It's a long story, but I spent a year there.
Yes,
It was really wow.
Yes, well, when you're dealing with the nuns and such, sex ed is basically
Don't have sex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Texas. Like, hey, we have great abstinence education only program. Yeah, your unwanted teen pregnancies are fucking skyrocketing there, folks.
That's your one. That's your one for tonight.
I think I used it wisely.
I'm still waiting to find out if there's going to PG-13 version of Deadpool, and there's that one F-bomb just waiting, and of course, you know, Cable is the one to use it all of a sudden at the end.
Hey, it's coming up, man. It's coming up.
That's a whole other thing. Later.
But anyway, you know, we have evidence, data, true, positive statistical analysis shown to not be skewed in favor or against, demonstrating that when schools that have sex education programs to begin with choose to teach abstinence only and nothing else, it fails.
Yeah.
It absolutely fails.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, it doesn't matter how much somebody thinks they want to be, quote, good and not have sex. Hormones are going to get in the way of that.
Biology?
Yeah.
I was going to say, biology trumps indoctrination every time.
Every time.
There's a lady who is a teacher who doesn't teach at a school, but teaches out of libraries and certain kinds of spaces that she and her group can get a hold of. And what this group does is they go around and they teach kids in a setting where the adults are not. Now, mind you, the adults have to give permission for their kids to go. Okay, so this is not something where the kids can just show up and get in there and the adults have no idea what the hell's going on. And the idea being is that no sparkle freckle pony. Anyway, what this group teaches is they not only teach sex education in terms of medically accurate terminology, STDs, STIs, the whole 9 yards. The fact that truly the only way to never get pregnant is to truly never have sex, because there's a risk even with condoms and all the current contraceptives. But what those risks are, what the percentages are, and the statistical probability of a condom breaking based upon how it's cared for, whether or not it sits in a wall or in a hot glove box, or whether you get it fresh out of the box in the house. Little things that make important, that can mean the difference in your change in your life. But it's also LGBT friendly, or should I say LGBTQ, whatever. So they talk about like the different pleasure centers that are not, people are not truly associated with or familiar with, like the anus, the fact that there's actually nerve endings that lead to the I can talk. I know I can. Pleasure center of the brain around the sphincter, and so on and so forth, and what's involved in anal play, and so on and so forth, so that the kids have a broad idea of, this is what goes on. Here's how to stay safe if you're going to choose to engage in it. Okay, but it also sets an environment where the kids can ask questions without their parents hovering over them. Because maybe they don't want to ask in front of their mom, hey, I stuck my finger in my belly button and it felt good, and I don't think I'm supposed to do that, or something to that, something equally, whatever a kid might find, bashful or embarrassing, that sort of thing. And we have down here, this happened down here, and we had a whole bunch of people standing alongside the road holding picket signs and things like that. They built a website. It was absolutely horrible. I'm not even going to mention it because whoever designed the site deserves to be, taken outside and beaten with a wet noodle. It's disgusting. And they didn't even have good arguments. The arguments, there was not a single argument they had that had any weight to it whatsoever. It was horrible. It was like, look, I can go into like a high school and pull somebody out of mock trial who can do better arguments than these. And they're not even lawyers. Come on. So, yeah, there's learning going on. And it's not just on our shows. It's all over the place if you know where to look. And this woman and the team that goes around with her and does these kinds of classes and such, they have got to be doing something wonderful in terms of these kids' lives. Because how many other places can you go where you can ask questions like that, where you can ask, hey, me and so together, we did this and it felt great, but, we're scared that people are going to judge us, and not have the person yell at you for, oh, you can't do that. It's against our religion or this. Instead, get an answer of, well, in some parts of the world, this is common. Other parts of the world, it's not. This is what you run the risk of. Here's how you can stay safe if you feel the need to engage in it again. And, be treated with open and honest answers. And we do that on the show too, as much as we can. Somebody gets on the YouTube channel and asks a question. We try to answer as honestly, as truthfully as we can. I know I've gotten shit wrong before. Sorry, guys. I come back when I find out that I've said something wrong, and I apologize for it. And I think we do change a lot of lives because we have an open forum in that respect.
Yeah, that's an important piece. I mean, on the sex side, I still do want to have a good talk because I want to have Callie on. I want to have Dr. Darryl Ray on. Darryl Ray is friggin'
That guy is hilarious.
Ray.
He can be
Okay.
talking about any serious. You could give him any serious sexual topic in the world, and he will find a way to make a joke about it.
If memory serves, his favorite opening question when he meets a new person is,
how old were you when you first started to masturbate? Been asked that by the man himself.
15.
Late bloomer.
Yeah.
No, I just I was still interested in Legos and reading at the time.
Not
Hey
too
man,
different from a lot of people.
I was still playing with Barbie dolls.
Oh, I play with Barbie dolls too. I used to piss off my sister. I'd rip the head off.
Yeah, that's not what I call playing with Barbie dolls.
That's Wednesday out of material right there.
Hey, I thought Wednesday was awesome.
I did too, but
She was. She needs to have her own new series, but that's another piece for another time.
I'd rather have my girl Friday.
Well, she's running the Iron Man mansion now. But we've dropped a lot of names, and in some cases, not necessarily directly the names of people. Although, we've got the people who work at that library. Don't need the names, don't care. We've had the medical.
Well, let me reiterate real quick. It's not that she works out of that library. It's that her and her group rented a section of the library to teach the courses, and they go around and find places like that, safe spaces like that to do that.
That details. But they do that. We do our piece over here. Dr. Darryl Ray, he's got his pieces, many pieces that he's got his fingers in, which influences Bobby and Ashley over at No Religion Required, who end up talking to who only knows how many people they get attention for, who influence Barroom Atheists, who influence us in a big circle, who influence Heretic Woman and Beth, who influence however many people listen to them and listen to us, and onward and outward.
Here's a good example. Here's a good example. Our mutual friend in your neck of the woods. She listened to me and reached out to me, and now we're forming a support system.
I gotta get back out over to said person because I need to bring a bicycle.
Yeah. Actually,
I gotta get a bike.
We need to talk because we have a collection of bikes and parts in the attic.
Well, see, I was thinking about simply giving my single bike because I've got the tandem, and truth be told, I could ride the single, but I've got the thing where I want to ride the tandem.
Yeah, but something to consider. We do have a bunch of stuff here, so we can talk about that.
We'll deal with that. But we have collectively influenced out. We've had people who we've made a difference for. Sometimes it's more visible, sometimes less. Mm-hmm. I would like to think that on the less visible side, I would like to think that we, in our own way, influenced Cash from Atheists on Air way back when. Do I think that we will have changed his feelings on stuff? No. But I do think that we've at least made him recognize, over the years, that he did good. And even though I think that us reminding him he did good is not going to change the fact that he's going to continue to do good, at least he knows full well that if he ever wanted to become more visible again, he's got a spot. He's got a seat at any of our tables. I mean, at
I do
at
miss Cash.
yours. Yeah, Heretic Woman at your show. I'm sure
Yes.
if he said, "Hey, I'd like to show up," and you were like 10 minutes away from air, you'd roll out the red carpet, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
I know for me, if we were 10 minutes in, I'd tell him, "Get your ass in here, you smell
Hell
like-"
yeah. I'd be like, and now if I had another guest, maybe not, but if we were just on a topic and he's like, hey, can I drop in? I'd be like, floor is yours.
I think it was
Okay.
his show that I heard the phrase "holistic, happy, hippie horseshit" or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was listening to it because I had the recording. I was listening to it, and I was at work. I was working on a server, okay, in the server room. I mean, I was actually like replacing parts when I was listening to this, and I damn near dropped a board inside the case, which now, for some of you are like, so what? But Shujin just kind of winced because he knows exactly what kind of damage that can possibly mean. And yes, it was an expensive machine. No, I did not break it, but I damn near got close to it because it was funny as hell.
Depending as to what kind of server board it would have been, it could have been one of those old ones that fit into a 1 or 2U rack where you have to find 4 identical CPUs to put into the 4 corners of the board. That's another time. That's another techie thing.
This was a 4U machine.
Oh yeah. That would have been,
Welcome
that would
back.
have been very,
I don't even know what that means.
it was expensive.
Later.
It would have been expensive.
Expensive and large. Like me.
Okay.
But no religion required. Barroom atheist. Stop. Our 4 shows are directly, and I've stated this so many times before, we are all direct descendants from Cash's work. No question whatsoever. And we've helped each other before. Bobby and Bobby and Bill, yeah, they work together because tech problems, equipment issues. We kind of worked back and forth with talking with each other. And yeah, we're kind of this incestuous group of sorts, but we've got our niches, we've got our people, and we on this show ended up helping out, I forgot what her name was, but in Oklahoma, who was on for a couple of months with us. Ashley from Oklahoma, thank you. And you know what? She's the one that Cash called me out about. If you'd spend a couple $100 and you knew that you only helped one person, would you do it? She may be that one. And I'm okay with that. Because that one is someone that will have an effect elsewhere. You'll forgive me for making this a little bit of a wartime metaphor for a second, but Joey, the idea of hitting your mark and having collateral damage is typically viewed as a bad thing, but when you want to get confirmation that you hit your target and you have secondary explosions, that's a good thing. They're not too very different from each other, though, right?
You're muted.
Or he's stepped away. Either
Or
way.
both.
Or both. Anyway.
We can hear you in the bathroom. You need to wash your hands longer.
Stop that. So, all right. Let me kind of follow through on that one.
What the hell?
Doesn't matter.
That's my phone.
But if we kind of follow through with that, somebody else had made reference to micro inoculations in order to try to combat indoctrination of bad woo thinking. Micro inoculations, little bubbles where there is rationality that festers and grows. Maybe bad choice of words for it, but like to think that maybe we've got a little hand in little pockets here and there. Not a huge, we don't have a huge following, and I'm not downplaying our importance by saying it that way. We don't. We're not pulling down the same numbers as Cognitive Dissonance, and I don't expect we ever would. We're not nearly the same kind of thing. But we have our place. We have people that check in. And for those of you that are listening for it, thank you. Because you are the people who are trying a little bit here, a little bit there to maybe influence your family, maybe a coworker, maybe, just somebody that you just see on the street who wants to get a holistic foot massage in the mall because it'll help with your immune system. God, why is that even in the mall by me? God, that drives me up a freaking wall.
See, at least my mall's honest. My mall has one of those a bunch of those massage chairs, and they sell it as they promote it only as relaxation therapy. That's it. They don't say it's going to cure anything. They don't tell you it's going to make you like a viral sexual demon, whatever. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It just says relaxation therapy. Spend 20 minutes relaxing while other people go shopping. That sort of thing. Real simple, real honest. And I was like, I really want to hop in one of those chairs right now.
Can't say I blame you.
Suck on the microphone, though. All the vibrations coming through the microphone, that would suck.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
That's not
for us.
Yeah.
I've got my kid. I've got you guys. I influence all of you. I have the people that I interact with on a somewhat larger scale, very little in the line of family. But, I would like to think that I'm making my ripples in the tapestry. A little bit here, a little bit there. I don't go looking for huge changes for anything or anyone. But then again, I'm also the kind of guy that, I just go out there and I just do my thing. And if my thing is worthwhile, people recognize it. And if I'm wrong, I'm hoping people will call me out on it. Which has happened not too very long ago. And I have no idea if the person's listening. But, yeah, I have not forgotten. I'm still grateful for being bitch slapped for it. Joey, you, assuming that you're there, I don't even know. Go ahead and turn your microphone on for a second. Oh, good, you are there now. You end up influencing the people when you're playing music. You talk, you joke, you give ideas. I mean, hell, last night, you ended up explaining a little bit about, I just suddenly ran out of track where I was.
Guns.
Guns, yes, thank you.
Machine guns.
Yeah. Explaining how some certain machine guns are and gave us pieces of information that otherwise we wouldn't have had. Probably a good thing, like knowing that some people in the military carry spare barrels for their weapons.
Well, yes. It's been common practice for machine gun teams or machine gunners, for those who carry single weapons, to carry spare barrels ever since World War II. We borrowed that idea from the Germans.
Now, see, this is not something that I knew and not something that I would have known. But
because when you're having tiny explosions inside of an enclosed steel space at a rate of 1,200 a minute, steel gets hot.
Yeah. Now, the point that I'm going with is that, in the grand scheme of things, we wouldn't know this. It wouldn't otherwise influence our lives or change anything. But it gave us some inkling, some new appreciation for how crazy military life can be, especially when you're out there on the bad. Mm-hmm. So you've had your influence. You've taught.
I've taught people how to. There have been those who have asked me how to use things like Inkscape and Paint Tool Sci and Photoshop and Illustrator. I've taught people how to do that. I've taught people how to properly ride a motorcycle. I've helped teach somebody to drive.
See, the piece I was going to go for is exactly that. I was going to go with, yeah, but there's also all these other things that are completely non-related to that area. And thank you. You actually took exactly where I was hoping for before I even got to it.
I like to watch people learn. Knowledge is power, and empowering the people around you is good.
Knowledge is power. Power corrupts. Read. Take over the world.
That's the most frustrating.
Centralized power.
Well, Joseph?
When I love the learning process. I mean, when you're discovering something new, you've got this sense of excitement, and that's really what I want to share with somebody I'm teaching something to, or trying to teach something to. And that seems to be lost on so many people. It's like everything is like a trial in, again, trial in imitation. I mean, I don't understand sometimes that people don't seem to get it. It's like, it's almost like people have forgotten about how to be a kid. I mean, when you're a kid, everything's new. Everything's exciting, and I think people will get off that track somehow. Sometime in their adolescence, they're trained out of it.
Well, people are taught to grow up. Sit still, behave, don't talk. Don't ask questions. Think this way, don't think that way.
Pretend you know everything.
Basically, our education system destroys the child inquisitive mind and turns them into quote unquote adult minds.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case.
Okay, let me say, well, not the whole system, but there's a significant amount.
There are parts of that, yeah. I think, however, a lot more of it tends to be cultural. And that's annoying to me.
Comes from that's important. It's the technique. I mean,
true. I'll give you that. Yeah.
And again, going back to survival. I mean, you're going to learn through imitation. You're going to choose the healthiest of the pack and imitate them because, look, they're healthy, so whatever they're doing must be right. Or are you going to discover things for yourself? And I think a kid really wants to discover everything for themselves. I mean, at the same time, they're going to look to their parents for guidance, Yeah.
Okay. Stephanie has got something over there also, and I understand where you're coming from. I'm not sure that I completely agree, but again, it's a little outside. Stephanie writes, in the UK, curiosity is destroyed by the national curriculum, which is pure grad grind. Learn facts, not how to think. And the kids are tested to death. Okay, so many tests. That's a double-edged sword. It truly is. But the part of the problem is with some facts, with some courses, you kind of have to learn the facts, and trying to understand why a fact is
facts of life.
Longer. Cut it out is longer than what would be reasonable. An area that I'm thinking of in particular is how do you explain why the Pythagorean theorem works versus this is the Pythagorean theorem, this is what it's applied to, and this is how you use it? Which one is easier and which one gives the most bang for the buck, so to speak, for the time invested? Try to explain why the Pythagorean theorem works. To me, if I remember right, try to explain why a mathematical theorem works is kind of college grad level thinking.
So
But in a more practical sense, I've always had a beef with how a lot of teachers teach history, because
Yes.
it's often presented as just this conglomeration of factoids, and it's
no
just
context.
it's so much more than that. And I hear so many kids, history is boring. I'm like, no,
Well, that's
history
because
is one of the most exciting subjects out there. There's
yes,
so much going on with it. I mean, even things like in revolutions, if you're teaching, like I remember when we learned about the French Revolution, instead of like, well, yeah, so and so did this and so did that, and on X day they stormed the Bastille, blah blah blah. No, you got to talk about how, you know, the aristocracy had sort of overrun their position, and how they didn't care about the poor, and how the rank and file Frenchmen you know, got fed up with, you know, the nobles always having everything, and why did they go and get upset,
And all that's
you know,
directly linked to like the invention of the corner cafe, and you know, and just like the opening of political discussion and all this. I mean, everything's linked to everything.
yeah,
And just
and
to give a feeling, you know, you could say X happened. Well,
but talk about the why and
the same X thing can happen in two different points in time in two different, completely different countries.
that is my biggest complaint with history class as it's been taught through my life, is that history is more than just important names and important dates.
yes.
And that is why I personally have to tip my hat to the folks over at Crash Course, specifically John Green, who hosts the Crash Course World and US History. And not only do they make, they toss in little jokes here and there, they toss in little cartoons to go along with it, but they specify what is going on. They actually look at the reasons for why this happened.
Like my favorite period of the Tudor and Elizabethan, you know, you can, Henry the Eighth had 6 wives, and wife number 1 lived to this, and wife number 2 lived to this, and yada yada yada. But it's so much more exciting than that. I mean, the Tudors put people like the Kardashians to shame as far as intrigue and scandal goes. Or if you want to talk about the Borgia family or the Medici family, you know, like there are just so many more exciting things to talk about. It's like, you know, well, Henry VIII became the head of the Anglican Church in this day and that day. No, dude wanted to get laid, so he formed his own church. Like, how more salacious can you get? You know, and if it was taught in terms like that, I think young people would get so much more excited about it. And I remember when one of my older nieces was like, oh, history's so boring, and I you know, I had to resist the urge to give her a cuff up the back of the head, you know, like, stop saying that, blasphemy kind of thing. But yeah, but and the thing is, when we are ignorant of history, we end up in places like we are today, because no one is recognizing that we are, as the old adage goes, repeating ourselves.
The piece about history, that is, I've said that on numerous occasions. If social studies was explained as the story of how we got where we are, there would be a marked difference, because the story is the story is what's happened. I mean, that's not terribly difficult to understand for anybody. Try to memorize the dates. Yeah, okay, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. It always is, because you're arbitrary pieces. But still understanding how all of the puzzle pieces fit together, what influenced where. Joey, we had this discussion once before.
Exactly.
World War II? Okay. Was it World War II?
Yeah, but what people can argue, when did World War II end? Some people argue World War II never happened, that the period that we call World War II was just an extension caused by the events of World War One. There are those who argue that World War II didn't end until like the 1970s, 1980s, because there was still a Japanese soldier who was trapped on an island who, to his knowledge, the war was still going, and he was holding his post. And he had to be formally relieved by a representative of the current Japanese government before he would put down his rifle.
Well, current at that time also, just to be pedantic about it, just because. But and Stephanie's, can you imagine the reaction if the real history of Henry VIII in the southern states?
There'd be a lot more kids.
Yeah. It's important to realize that with history, it doesn't matter when something happened. World War II could have happened 200 years back during the Napoleonic Wars. It wouldn't matter. It's what the effects and what the causes were that define its part in history.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all had at least one outstanding teacher, whether in formalized education or out, whether good or bad, that we have not forgotten. I specifically know that I have two that were really influential. No, I've got more than that. I've got four that were really influential. One of which was I did not have as a student. I had one teacher who was a math teacher who influenced me to learn to read recreationally because and I will never forgive him because I have so many friggin' paperback books. It's not even funny, from junior high and up, of sci-fi and fantasy and whatnot. Thank you. But he broke the last glass blackboard in the school. He was trying to make a point. He was a math teacher. He drew whatever the heck it was on the chalkboard. He grabbed the I think it was a metal protractor that he had. Yeah. And
Those days they were almost always metal.
Yeah. And he was making a point, and he went ahead and he was just like, and this is how the thing happens right here. And he hit the board with the flat of the protractor on the board, and the whole... Oof. He's credited with breaking the last actual glass blackboard, and they didn't give him his old room back until the next year after it had been replaced. I don't know if that was a punishment or not, but they just moved him to a different room until they fixed it and didn't give him back his room. The others were all music teachers. Believe it or not, of all things. The first one that really showed me, yeah, I can do something. The next one who was really tough on me to, get me going. And the last one that gave me the opportunity to really stretch my wings, so to speak, and said, "Well, learn how to march and play drum?" Okay. And now look at me. I've got nothing to do with music or math or reading, but I talk a good game. So I guess that's good because I came out of my shell.
For me, there are 3.
So help me if you tell me one of them is Gunny, I'm gonna hurt you.
For me, no, I'm talking about personal relationships. Number 1 would have to be Mr. Montgomery from my 9th grade high school history class. And not just because he, went ahead and played Gladiator while we were sitting in one of the last classes. He was one of those history teachers. He did not give a damn about dates or names. He focused on what was important, what the bigger picture was. History is not just points on a line. That was one of his quotes. Second, good try, but that's Marine Corps. My second one was Drill Sergeant Montoya. Because that guy never let me quit. And for a short stacked little Napoleonic fucker.
That's the second one.
Well, I would have to say him and Drill Sergeant Upchurch, who was pretty much the exact opposite. Big brick wall of a, as he would put it, beautiful chocolate man. And he had these bulldog jowls that just completely and totally fit him. But yes, those two, you start getting tired and you want to just lay down, and they're no, they will I will motivate you. Now, we've tackled history, we've tackled military, which are kind of can go hand in hand for a lot. I mean, that's probably why I focus mostly in my extracurriculars in military history. The third might come as a bit of a head scratcher. But the fact that I remember their full name should be evidence enough to the effect that they've had on my life. My high school art teacher, Miss Rebecca Pope. Yes, I know Pope, but moving on. She's the one who taught me how to look at things differently, how to find different solutions to problems. And despite it being an art class, which wasn't considered important, she taught me more about things we've experienced in life than any other instructor has done for me. She taught me how to cope.
Anybody else want to jump in with a piece? Because might as well just leave the floor open for a couple of pieces, because I'm going to use it to close this out after.
Trying to think of. Oh. Drawing a blank.
Start off the easy one. Cash. God, really? Seriously?
Well, okay. Well, he was having me think of non-activism life.
No, mine specifically were those who I have personally experienced, but I don't think that's all we're focusing on here.
Yeah, definitely cash, for sure. And honestly, people like Rafe Badawi and Avijit Roy and, all of those people that can't do what we do, and then people like Ali and Faisal and Armin Navabi, who escaped all of that and make a point. And I know every time Ali talks, he always says, you know, when I was a kid in Saudi Arabia, when I realized that at that point I wasn't allowed to say certain things, I always swore that when I got somewhere that I could, I would, and I would never shut up. And that's what he does. So I kind of sort of have that attitude myself too. It's like, I can get away with being as mouthy as I want, so I will bloody well do it, because there are a lot of people out there that can't. So yeah, those are definitely influences.
Guys,
Better get Brigid, because she's getting sleepy.
She's not the only one. I had a long day.
well then, you know, you got the three of you left, so
I mean, I can keep going.
no. Brigid, anything you want to drop in? Because I'll move on to the other two.
No.
Fine.
What was the original question again?
Yeah, I'm dead on my feet. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll close this up very shortly then. Who you specifically remember that's helped and influenced you for good or for ill?
My
Whether it's
folks.
cool or not. Okay.
Yeah, folks are good.
Folks. My sister. My sister and I, we have a understanding. We never lie to each other. We don't hide anything from each other. We have always openly discussed our thoughts and feelings. And we also had an agreement that, you know, other people couldn't beat us up, but we could beat the crap out of each other. And we did. Did we do that? Yeah, there were many days. It's like, if kids don't knock it off, I'm going to stick you out back, and you're going to have to put on boxing gloves and duke it out. So they dared us, and of course we wanted to do it, so they didn't give us the boxing gloves. But you know, having that kind of like sounding board, like I could ask my parents questions, and I knew I wouldn't get judged. The fact that I had somebody that I could tell anything to, and know that it would be kept in the strictest of confidence. That's something that I don't think a lot of people have. I don't think there's a lot of people that realize how important something like that is. I'm very lucky in that respect. And so with my son, I try to do a lot of that. I try to make sure that, you know, things he wants kept confident, that he can ask me anything without me judging him. Or making, you know, whatever it is that he's doing sound like somebody's going to the bathroom in the background.
That was me pouring a drink.
Okay.
Hawaiian punch.
Kickstart fruit punch tastes better. Anyway, so, you know, I hope that he ends up, you know, if he has children of his own later on in life, that while still being a father, he'll be able to provide them with that as well. That little bit of openness, non-judgmental nature. I mean, yeah, he's my son. There's going to things I'm going to look at and go, yeah, no, that's wrong, buddy. You got to correct that attitude or correct that that mistake, you know. But for asking questions, there's no judgment there.
Joseph, I guess any that you want to specifically bring back for memory?
My 8th grade teacher and like Joseph, my art teacher. my 8th grade teacher was really the first to told us the why of what he's teaching us, and that was just an epiphany. He made it all seem interesting.
Very cool.
Until then, it was just you have to learn this because you have to learn this, or because we said so. There's a world of difference between that and well, this is what you can learn, and this is how it's useful.
There is
That's
one. There is one thing I would like to touch on just real quick, and that is you don't just remember the good teachers. You can also learn a lot from a very poor teacher. For example, my first semester in college, I was introduced to an individual who I'm not going to name, but she was the animation teacher at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, head of the department, and she was bigoted, egocentric, uncompromising in a bad way. She had a few choice words speaking on things of personal matters and those that she simply chose to observe from the surface and never considered the idea of exploring deeper to see what it's all really about. So even though she was a terrible teacher who I refused to continue with, she reminded me that, you know, there's more to things than, you know, what you catch at first glance. And it's important to look deeper.
Let me close this up real quick. We have, each of us collectively, a couple of people that we still remember that specifically influenced us. Some more recent than others, some earlier in our careers. If you go with the idea of a high school teacher being someone that influences you, how many people were in your graduating class? For me, it was almost 400. Almost. 400 students.
162.
Like 35.
So it could be
500.
Okay. Cisco, it could be anywhere from 500 students to 100. But that's one teacher that would have to be dealing with however many students. For how many years? How many students per year? You do the multiplication, and then you realize that that influence goes out to however many years afterwards. One person makes a difference. And I'm not trying to grab from a superhero trope. It's true. And even if we ourselves don't recognize it in the moment, even if you don't recognize it in the moment, you have an influence. We have an influence. And like with the tapestry idea that I keep using all the time, I'll keep saying it again. We threads pull on all of the other threads. We support, we pull, we tug, we color, and we don't even see what that influence really is on the rest of the tapestry. But think about how widespread that influence is. Good luck with that. because after about a week of trying to figure out how many people you might come in contact with and you might be able to influence and help and have a better day with, unless you can follow how far out that butterfly's wings go, you'll never figure it out. And maybe that's the beauty of it. Because we try our best to make that as good an outcome as possible. And we will never know the full extent. We just hope. As always, thank you very much for being with us, everyone. We hope that you've enjoyed all of our perspectives and found something worthwhile in everything that we've had to say for tonight. I will be making sure that the information for Crash Course History is linked in the show notes, so you can check that stuff out. As a contrast, I will also drop in there the links for Markiplier's history lessons, because it's quite the difference. And look at it this way: if you need a little bit of laughter, what better opportunity? Let me go ahead and say goodnight for everybody and get everybody out of here, because a couple of people are going to sleep really quickly. Joseph, thank you very much for your time. You have yourself a good morning, and thanks for making it this week. Appreciate it.
No, you too, sir. Sorry for the last weeks, but
No, it's okay. You know,
you'll see why soon.
fair enough. And of course, as always, I've got your blog link over there at Quora. So if anybody wants to read up, they can read up that one.
Quora, yeah. Novel.
Isn't that a food? I'm thinking of a quinoa.
Quinoa.
I have no idea what the hell that is.
Or quesadilla, maybe? I don't know.
No, I was thinking of quinoa.
Or your corner.
Close enough. UnrenownedTech.
Wouldn't it?
UnrenownedTech, you go ahead, get yourself to bed, get to sleep, because you look like you're ready to start passing out now.
Yeah, my personal training schedule changed because of my son in town and everything else. So, like, now it's got Saturday mornings are, go to the gym, then do a whole bunch of yard stuff and everything else. And it's like, I'm tired.
As an aside, by the way, only because they might be disappearing really quickly, Alan and Stephanie, thank you guys also for hanging out with us over there in the chat. Joey, thank you very much. You have yourself a good morning, and thank you for not setting anything on fire.
Not tonight. But I do want to say there is something else I sent for you, Shu, to include in the links, because personally I think it wraps up the message best.
I think I know exactly which one that is. We've mentioned that one before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Did you set something on fire in the last episode?
No.
No, he set his desk on fire a few months ago.
Oh. Okay.
It's all good.
I
Brigid,
didn't know you had a desk.
yes. Brigid, you have yourself a good morning. Thank you very much. Go get yourself some sleep after you plug your blog.
My blog is at brigidfitch2112.wordpress.com.
Thank you for your time, hon. And you have yourself a good morning.
Yeah, you too. I'm going to bed.
Fair enough. All right. And Heretic Woman, you go ahead and plug your stuff, because I got something after you get done, of course.
Okay. Well, of course, you can find me on Monday evenings at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Beyond the Trailer Park. This week we are talking to Marissa McCool, the host of Inciting Incident podcast and author of The PC Lie. So that's going to be exciting. And also tomorrow at 2:00 in the afternoon, which is kind of early for me, I will be appearing on the Great Debate Community channel with Steve McRae and Holy Kool-Aid, who I had the pleasure of meeting Holy Kool-Aid at the conference, and he and I are going to discuss our fun times there at the conference on Steve McRae's channel. So
I take it they worship the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. Actually, Holy Kool-Aid has a really cool channel. He does all of his videos in animation, which is really nice. I wish I could do that, but I can't. So, but yeah, he does a good job over there. So yeah, I'll be appearing over there tomorrow afternoon. So that'll be fun too. So that about sizes that up, I think.
Cool. For those of you that would remember, a couple weeks ago, I did the 36-hour radio stream marathon for the Ride for Roswell fundraiser. We have approximately $160 US from the Second Life fundraising. It's not a grand amount, of course, but that's okay. I'm looking to parlay that. So for anybody that's made it this point, if you would like to become a virtual rider for this year's Ride for Roswell, we don't have too much time left. I am going to 50-50 people to become virtual riders for the team. I'll make sure that the link is up in the show notes. They're also in my personal line and over at Holy Crap the Vlogcast on Facebook. If you sign up to be a virtual rider, it's normally a $20 fundraising minimum. If you register for the team as a virtual rider and pledge $10, I will match your extra $10 for 15 or 16 people. You don't have to do anything for fundraising. You pledge $10. You become part of the team. Roswell Park is going to get the money no matter what. Whether I give them all $160 myself, or if 16 people get an extra $10 each to be part of the team. Because the idea of having a worldwide virtual team, that's got a lot of appeal to me. I'd really like to see that. So if you want to join up for that, please, like I said, join the team end of cycle for Sarcoma, and we'll see how many people are able to make it for all that. If you'd like to follow us over on the web for all of our social links and the download link for the podcast, swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. And if you'd like to hit us on voicemail, it's 859-HCTV 554. 859-4288-554. We'll be looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Week after that is the Ride for Roswell. The week after that is Anthrocon. So again, it's going to be a little bit of a weird month, but that's okay. We're still going to be here. And for all of you that participated last week in the Pride Parade here in Buffalo, thank you. It was a hell of a fun time. And yes, I'm thinking about making it up to Pride Toronto. Maybe not this year.
Okay.
Too much going on, but maybe next year. But in the meantime,
We'll have to talk about that.
we will, because I got somebody else who's already given me crap about that, but that's another thing for later. Meanwhile, we got to get on out of here, but thank you for being with us. As always, we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time out. As always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well, and of course, my lady, 12 years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin. I love you, and I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.